Hi, welcome everyone. Today we are going to have the lab session on hacking web servers. So we are going to discuss a few utilities like Netcat. It's also called Swiss knife in the hacking community. Then there is a tool called WhatWeb. We'll discuss about that. Then there is a new tool. Actually, both WhatWeb and NetAttacker are new tools, and this is by Morningstar Security, WhatWeb, and NetAttacker is by OWASP. So we'll discuss about the commands and how we can use them. Then I'll also tell you about some one open source web application firewall, which is Mod Security. We'll point you to their website. And Nginx web application firewall is actually built on top of it. So people who want to actually defend their Nginx app server, I mean web servers, then they can make use of that. And as the time permits, we will discuss some basic concepts on SQL injection attack. And if we are left, because these are some future sessions that we are going to have, and I'll have some examples from that. So I thought it will be better if we discuss some basic concept, because most of the time students get confused in SQL injection attacks. Then I thought of creating an example on session fixation, but I'm still exploring it. So maybe in one of the sessions in web application hacking, I'll cover that too. Okay, so let's start, guys. We'll start with the netcat. So if you go to the terminal in Linux, Kali Linux, you'll see that netcat is by default installed. Okay, so it can be used with the command nc, and then tac small h, you can see the help. Okay. So there are some advanced features in it wherein you can decide about the source routes and their hop points by giving the pointers. And then if say you are there as an attacker and you want to start netcat in a listener mode, and on the victim, if a process is spawned up, a netcat itself is running, and you try to you know reverse bind it to a listening port on your machine, then you can start it with the tac small l, and you can also specify the port number on which you want to listen. Additionally, you can specify the host name as well. But in this example today, we won't use that because we will listen on all interfaces that are present on the machine. So I'll just repeat it again. So if you want to know which all interfaces are there, and you can see that all network interfaces can be seen with these names. Okay. So what we'll take an example of a loopback interface, which points to the IP address 127.0.1. Okay. So let us start it with the listener mode, and I specify the port number. Okay. So it's listening. It's a very nice utility, and very quick to be in the toolkits of the hackers. Okay. Then if you want to communicate to a listening process of netcat, you can use netcat itself. So you can specify the address and the port. Okay. So what you would see most of the time that there is nothing on the chat window. Like, but you can actually send messages to and fro to both listening process and the one that is sending. Okay, the process that is sending. So if you say this is my message. Okay, to differentiate between the message, I can say sender, this is my message. and you press enter, and you will be able to see that message in the listener window. Then from that, you can reply also, and then you can see that same string is actually uh, be seen in the another window. So this is just one feature of Netcat. Now another feature that is there, now to kill this particular session, you can actually press Control C. Okay, and as soon as the sender is disconnected, the listener would also get disconnected. And while doing CTFs, or while actually setting up these bind shells or some kind of a communication tunnel between the victim and the receiver, you usually get this kind of a message that from which IP you are actually getting a message and on which port. Okay, from which port. Okay, so maybe about this port I might be wrong, so just check. It may be a process ID also, but we can see that later too. Okay, so you can use a netcat to issue HTTP requests also. So say I say netcat google.com on port 80. Okay, so you would see that it has actually set up a communication channel, and then but here you have to specify the type of the request, the path to which you may want to make the request, and you need to specify the HTTP protocol version. And when you press once enter, nothing would happen, but when you press twice, it will actually pull the data from that web page. Okay, and then you can have a look at the response, wherein it has specified the version and replied with the 200 HTTP code and an OK message, the date, and the expiry, which is sent as -1, doesn't expire. Then cache control, which is like private, and it has also specified the content type and char sets. Okay, some information on the server, and then some additional headers like for XSS protection, then frame options, and the cookie details also. Okay, the cookie that the server is trying to set on the client, wherein a path is also specified, the domain is also specified. So all of the details are there. And after this header, you see the response, but you cannot actually see or understand this. You will have to probably make it readable and parsable with the help of some kind of a tool. Okay, so this is the same request that goes from the browser when you try to access it from the browser. Let's say I want to go to this page, and it's actually the port 80 of the server. Okay, so but it is trying to set up a what do you call that, secure connection. So by default it goes to this particular port. Okay, so this was netcat, a small example to get information from the web server. If you see the lab guides, you would see that most of the utilities that are being used to understand web servers are the ones which we have already discussed in footprinting and a little bit of enumeration, right? So you can have have a look also on the lab guide, and the tools that are mentioned there must be there available in the lab. So please get the access. So now let us discuss another tool called WhatWeb. Okay. So this is, I'll just point you to the GitHub repo. WhatWeb GitHub. Okay. So this is a tool which is also being claimed as the next generation web scanner, and it is designed by Morningstar Security. Okay, it's created by Morningstar Security. It's quite good. I've used it, and it brings a lot of information on the web servers. Okay, it has around 1700 plugins, and along with the using other enumeration tools or footprinting tools, you can use this. Okay, and you can also create logs in multiple formats. See XML, JSON, MongoDB, Elasticsearch formats. Then it also includes proxy support for Tor. Then you can define your custom HTTP headers. You can do basic HTTP authentications. And as we specify IP ranges in case of Nmap, you can do that also. And it supports fuzzy matching. So we'll try this on some of the targets. Okay. And see the latest release was just 4 days ago. Okay. Version 0.5.5 release happened just 4 days ago. Okay. Quite a good tool in active development, some 52 contributors, and it's created using Ruby. Okay. In Kali, it was already there. I did not have to install it. Okay, maybe I'll have to check the version and then update it as per the latest release. So, so if you specify what web, and let's do it on Tesla. You might have heard about Tesla, right? So you see, it brings out information on country. Okay, and but it's the reply of the server is actually coming from Akamai. Okay, this is might not be the actual web server host. Okay, then there is a IP also which is reported, and the country is United States. Then this is of prime importance that it has been able to figure out that what web framework is being used. Okay, so the name of the framework is there, which is quite good to know. And then PHP version is also specified. And then Drupal's actually the framework's version is also specified, like Drupal 8. So these details are quite important because they help us or attackers when we play as an attacker. They help us in determining the exploits that are available. We can search for these exploits by using search exploit or go to exploitdb.com and then search further. Okay. Then X powered by itself, this header is also being reported. Okay. Normally these details should be hidden from being enumerated by attackers. Okay, and it also says that it's XUA compatible with Internet Explorer Edge. So then there are some additional uncommon headers that application developers have actually specified with respect to the framework that they are using. Okay, now there is another mode in what web which is called verbose. Okay, and with a small tag small v, you can specify that. And once you click on that, it brings in quite a readable result, and it classifies it in a very beautiful manner. Okay. So it's the one that we saw was a summary. Okay. And when we click on, when we specify tag small v, we get this kind of an output as it is on the screen. So which is quite readable. We get the IP, we get the country, and about Drupal, it is organized. So it has used Google Docs. Okay, and it has also figured out the technology in which HTML5 version 5 is there in the doc type declarations. Then PHP is there. So we already had one discussion on PHP yesterday. Okay. So this is how the output is brought about it. What is of prime interest to us is the versions. So Drupal 8, PHP 7.4.1 is quite useful, right? Then let's try it on okay, what web in verbose mode to certifiedhacker.com, right? So you can see that it figures out that the HTTP server that is running on that end is Apache, and the jQuery version is 1.4. Okay. And in some cases, it actually lists down the user IDs also. I mean, the emails and things like that. Okay. So in this output, it's not there. Let's try another. So you can also specify the aggression level. Let me just. So with what level of aggression you want to query the target or the web server. So there are three actually. One is called stealthy, and the value 3 is specified for aggressive, and then there is heavy. So by default, only one default level 1 is present, and if additional plugins are required and level 1 is matched, then additional requests will be made in case level 3 is specified. Okay. So let's do that against one of the targets to see what output it brings. Okay. Some of you will, when you press like tag small h, you will find some example usage also. The nice thing about this is that you can specify multiple targets also separated by space. Okay. So if you remember in some of our previous examples, we had to specify additional options for our tools to do a follow up. Okay. Whenever some request is redirected, and we have to ask it to actually follow to the redirect, follow the redirects. So that is not required in this case. Okay, so I'll just I remember that one of the website that we were trying was Slack HQ, right? Because it was there in some bounty program by Hacker 101. So it automatically follows the redirect, and I haven't specified the aggression level yet, but still it has figured out lot of details. Okay, let's see this. Yeah. So even if a particular page is actually moved permanently and the IP address, it has also specified this. Now here, check in this case, the server that is running is Nginx. Okay. And which it has been able to figure out from the server string. Then if redirect is happening to a particular URL, then that is also specified, right? Then some of the HTTP header information, which is quite useful. And then wait, yeah. Now there is a redirect location to uh, /blog, right? So some uncommon headers. Then it has also figured out some X-frame options. Then WordPress VIP, it has also specified the link that we can visit. Okay, it has been powered by. So that's the probably the framework or the version, or the source code has been used from this. Let's check this one. What is it? So this is some content platform, okay, and it does creates websites for enterprise ecosystems, right? So this is quite useful, and maybe some additional information regarding the framework or the source code and version will be available if we try to search more. Okay, so let's get back. Okay, if the IP has changed, it's there. Then some of the cookies, dead strings. See, this was the final redirected URL to which actually and the user gets redirected to, right? This is the URL of the blog. So it has also extracted the proxy server details, okay, via the HTTP header. Then some other headers that are set like X backend server, backend host, okay. If it's the same origin or different origin, that is also specified. Let's see. Yeah, see, it has actually figured out some emails also. Okay, newsletter. Several people are typing something. So I think no, this is I don't know if there is an email with the 2x.jpg extension, but this first one looks like a valid email. Maybe some default email is there present, and which can help us enumerate more. Then okay, so this is like what web. So you can try this also on your own. Okay, now there is a another tool called NetTacker. Okay, just so you can read about what web on Morningstar's website also, and the URL is there specified on the screen. Okay, so take your time and read about it. Then there's a tool called NetTacker. Okay, so this is their website, on the main website. You can have a look at the wiki, and I'll just point you to the code repository that they host on GitHub. So on GitHub, if you see, just this particular repo has received a pull request, merge pull request, and it's been merged, and it's been done yesterday. So people who are interested in development and making plugins and all that, you both can like get in. All those people can get involved in case of what web also and NetTacker. So they say that it is an automated penetration testing framework. And in one of the classes, I mentioned about this. Okay. I hope you tried on your own also. So as far as installing it is concerned, it's very simple. So you need to go to this button code, and you need to copy and go on the command line. Okay. and say git clone, and then you have to paste it. So as soon as you press enter, this particular repo will get a copy will be created on the local machine, right? It will be cloned. So I'm clearing the screen. Then you see a directory is created. I'm going to change into that directory, and I've just listed the files. Okay. So you see there is a file called requirements.txt. So first check which Python version you have. Say the default version that I have is 2.7.18. If you don't have, please install Python is Python 2. Okay. On Kali, you can check for this. Okay. This is the utility which will make the default Python as Python 2. And similarly, if you want to work with Python 3, because some of the attack methods which are there in this tool might not work with Python version 2. Okay, that porting is still in progress. So for using them, you can use Python is Python 3 as the default, or you can create a virtual environment, okay, with Python 3, and you can use the tool there by activating the virtual environment, right? So I'm just going to clear the screen. As of now, we have Python 2. So I'll just use pip2 install all the requirements, okay, with the tag small r. So once you specify this, it will download all of the requirements. Because I used this earlier, so all of the requirements are actually already present in this machine. Okay. So otherwise it will take some time for it to download and install them. Okay. Then once that is installed, you can specify Python netattacker.py. And if you do not give any other arguments to it, it will give you a help message. So the important arguments or the options that we need to take care of are tag small I, which helps us in mentioning a target as a list. We can also separate it with comma. And if we want to pass the list of targets in a file, that also can be specified with tag small l. Okay. So that it will read the targets from a file. Again, you can specify them with IP ranges or CIDR notations, as you do in case of Nmap. You can do that. Okay, so various attack methods that are available, or scan methods, I would say, are these. Like you can brute it for SMTP, like the mail servers, right? You can brute for forms which are present on HTTP pages. You can do NTLM brute. You can do telnet brute. Okay, all of these plugins are available. And if from this particular list, if you want to exclude some of the methods, then you can specify tag small x, and you can mention the name which needs to be excluded. Okay, it can help us in enumerating for the users also, and their passwords, if they are available, you can specify them with by separating them with comma, or by mentioning them in a file. So different options are there. You can also specifically, if you want to scan a port, you can mention with minus or tag G option. So if you want to, now this kind of a tool is quite useful in testing your own environment against attacks on web server. So what happens is normally whenever someone has some kind of an access, they try to run some kind of a service and leave a backdoor. So some or the other service might be listening on some port. So maybe a very thorough scan of the systems if you are in defenses, and even if you are pen testing for a particular organization, you can include this, and it is an automated way it figures it out, right? So let's specify, like let's use it against one of the targets. So with the tag small I have to specify the target. Which one we should choose? Like, okay, let's choose Tesla. And method, let's do a port scan. Okay, let's see what it brings. So it has loaded 68 modules. It has found TCP connect on 443 and 80. So this is from one of the bug bounties. This particular platform is always available. So but it must be very robust, and we might get some weird or unintended results on port scans, because usually port scans are figured out, and they are normally not allowed in enterprise environments. So I think it is still waiting. Yeah, see. So it's been able to bring out this result on port 443 and 80. Okay, it's been able to send a TCP connect request on these. So this gives some amount of information to us, right? And let's choose some other scan method types. I'll just go to help. So we'll choose X powered by, okay, which gives us information on like the framework. Then we can use we can do a subdomain scan, okay, and we figured out that it was Drupal, right? So we can do a Drupal module scan also. So let's there is an option of doing a directory scan, but for okay, let's use this Webalizer scan, right? It's one of the tools there in the lab guide is also there, wherein it's being used, like Webalizer has been used. So let's do that kind of a scan. Okay, so I'll just note these down. So this is the one. Okay, then this one, and then Webalizer. And we can specify all of them by separating them with the commas. So we know that port 443 and port 80 are listening. Okay. And additionally, we are doing these scans against it. Okay. So from Drupal, it says it has found on port 80, and again, it is brought the result which was similar to WhatWeb. Okay. And then it creates a file. For each scan, you can actually go and have a look at this file. It's normally stored in this directory. So from the browser, you can specify a file and you can load it. So the very nice and cool thing about it is that it shows a graph. Okay. So let me just zoom in. So it shows the path which it has taken to attack it. So it starts the attack, it goes to Tesla, and then starts the scan. Okay, X powered by scan and Drupal module scan on these ports, wherein it has provided the description. Okay. Then there is a tabular format also which is given. So you can see that the port and the type and the description is also mentioned in the tabular format. Okay. So this was OWASP Attacker, and you can explore more. Try to combine various attack methods against the target. Okay. It did not do weaponizer, right? Let's do that. No, but it is not bringing any of the results using weaponizer. Let's do weaponizer on another target. I will do it on. Yeah, so weaponizer has actually brought the information on the web server, right? Apache. Okay, and then again you can go and have a look at the HTML file. Okay, so this is a small introduction on the type of tools that can be used. And other than these, you can have a look at HTTP recon and ID serve, which are there mentioned in the lab guides. Okay. And then if you want to try them, please ask for the access. Now let's discuss some basic concepts. Now, before that, let me tell you about open source firewall, for layer 7 security, okay, which is mod security. Okay. So this is an application firewall. Usually, the firewalls that we have in the companies, they might not have rules, additional rules to protect the web applications or the web servers. So in that case, this kind of firewall, which is actually meant for web applications, can be really useful. What it does, like it works in a similar way. It has matching rules, and it can match the patterns against even against SQL injections, and it can stop and thwart those kind of requests before even these requests reach the web applications. Please have a look at this. Okay, version 3.0 is available, and for protecting nginx, because when we were yesterday looking at the netcraft's market survey, right, the graph that we had, nginx usage of nginx has been increasing. So it is good to know about mod security, as well as Nginx provides one enterprise solution that you can have a look at. It is called Nginx WAF. Earlier, I think it was free. So just check this. Maybe a free version is also available in their products. This is for enterprise based users. Okay. It has been built on top of mod security. This one. This is open source, and this solution has been built on top of it. So you can actually look what their free trial gives, just for learning purpose. Let's look at the pricing. Okay, so I don't think they have a free version anymore. Okay. Yeah, looking for Nginx open source, they have a download page, right? So probably you can download it from this URL. Okay, the open source version. Oh, this is Nginx open source version, not the one, not of the firewall. Okay. So please have a look at it, and just for learning purpose, in the trial period, if you want to protect web applications, try to configure them and by following the documentation. Okay. But for the purpose of this lab, it might be too much. Like in your free time, you can do that. Okay. Now let's learn something about SQL injections. Okay. So I have like two samples, like and there's some basic understanding you should have, like what is a table, and like what a table has. Okay. So in Kali, if you see, you can learn it using a DB browser for SQLite. SQLite is a very small database, a file-based database with a very small footprint. Okay, and you can create it with the help of this UI. Okay, you can create the database with the help of this UI. So let me create one. So I'll just create test .db and I'll save it. Okay. Then once you create it, it will create a default schema, like, okay, tables, indices, views, triggers. You need not to get into the details of that, what it is. We just want to focus on the syntax, okay, and understand what an SQL query means. So the language that is used by programmers to connect to the databases and store the data or fetch the data or update the data, like all CRUD operations like create, read, update, and delete in a persistent way in a database, like especially in case of RDBMSs, relational database management systems. Usually these queries are created. Okay. So there is again on the web, you can find out more, like to read more about it. So for beginners, you can have a look. Okay. And there is a, yeah, W3 schools is there. Good resource to read. You can do some exercises and understand the syntax. Okay. The one that we are focusing right now is how to create a table, a file-based in a file-based database locally. Okay. So we'll use this query, and we want to create a table called user, which has a field called contact ID, which is also the primary key. And there's a field called email. Field means the column. And then there is a column called pass, which is a type of text. And condition is that it should not store null values, and it should be unique. Okay. So you just have a basic understanding on how to read a query. Then take that query, go to the DB browser and execute it. Okay. So once you execute it, you will be able to see that particular table in browse data tab of this tool. Okay, DB browser for SQLite. Now let's populate it with the one small data, one row. Okay, so for that you will have to use a query like this, which is insert into user values 123 admin some email, and usually you will find that in databases some kind of a hash is stored as password. Password is never stored as like this, uh, like plain text. Okay, it is always stored as some kind of a hash. So we can go and create one more, one data. Okay, so once we execute it, it shows that one row is affected and this particular query was successful, right? Then you can browse the data. So this is the prerequisite before learning SQL injection. Okay, say there is a database. In that database there is a table. In that the table's name is user, and there is one row of data. There might be many users in that table. Okay, now when what developers do is they create some kind of a in non-standard practices. Okay, people who don't know how to secure code securely, then they use these kind of queries in the code itself, like in the file. Usually that is not the correct way of writing the queries and connecting to the database. Okay, so like say some kind of an error happens, and this kind of an error is captured in the log and it is visible on the browser, then the query will be seen on the browser itself. Okay, so that's a vulnerability, right? Because it is disclosing some sensitive information to the attacker. So what you would generally find is that they replace the query with some kind of a placeholder. Okay, and then pass the variables so that this particular string becomes the actual query. Say the actual query to select a particular record from a table would be like this. Okay, which they want, like a developer wants to write in the code. So what they would write is something like this, like select star from users. Okay, let me just execute it. Okay, sorry, I think name of the table is user. Yeah, user. Okay, so when I say select star from user, it is likely bringing out that result. Okay, and if I want to conditionally bring the result with respect to one user, then I can specify that particular condition in the where clause of the query. Okay, by like this, where I specify the field name, where this email is some variable. Okay, and password is this. Okay, so when this particular query is built by populating the variable values, it will be built like this. Just show it to you. Where email is single quotes admin at email.com, single quote close, and the second condition is and the pass. Okay, the field name pass is this value. Okay, right now this is, I have to copy it to make it work. Okay. And once I execute it, it will bring me that result. Okay. Now, what happens in case of SQL injections, like how these vulnerability is exploited, like if it is mentioned, right? So to understand that, whenever I want to comment a statement, okay, I can do it with as an attacker, I can do it with double dash. So this particular statement will not be interpreted by the SQL engine. So say I can specify this, uh, and this would appear as a comment. So this particular thing will be neglected by the SQL engine or the connection that is established with the database. Okay. So idea is to manipulate this kind of a query by passing some string in the form which is there on the user interface, so that the query which is written in the background becomes the query which the attacker wants it. Okay. So generally what will happen, one example I have given, that if you pass some kind of a value like single quote or 1 equal to 1 and comment rest of the things, if I replace this in instead of the variable, the query would change. Okay. Can you see? It becomes select star from user, the name of the table, where email is empty or 1 is equal to 1, like or this condition is satisfied, and comment out rest of the portion of the query. Like this won't matter even if you don't know the password. Okay. So let's take this. Even if I don't know the password, let me see if it works. See, this query has taken the form of the previous query and it works, right? I can actually paste it in the another column, right? Another tab wherein a portion of the query has been commented and a condition which it is generally faced when a user, now database engine cannot do anything about it, right? And the user who is writing in the developer while developing the app should not plainly use these kind of queries in the code. Okay. And even if someone has used it, then uh, some kind of an error should not display this information on the UI. Now that is another I would say error or flaw, right, which can help an attacker to exploit, or a vulnerability. So when I execute this, it actually brings me the result again. So this is what happens in case of SQL injection. Okay. So we can also take one. Okay, it's already 2:54. So I hope the session was useful in understanding the tools, as well as one small example on SQL injection. So what we have discussed as Netcat as a utility which can be used both as towards the both ends, like the target and the victim. Sorry, attacker and the victim. And then you can also use it to fetch some HTTP header information in the responses. Then we discussed about a tool called WhatWeb and a tool called NetTacker to enumerate, do some footprinting and enumeration on the web servers. And we discussed about web application firewall, open source web application firewall called Mod Security, and an enterprise solution which is by Nginx, which is provided. And then we discussed the concepts on SQL injection attack by making a small uh, example in a file-based database called SQLite. So please try these steps, and I hope the SQL injection attack in further lectures will not be confusing for us, for the attendees.